Thank you. My name is Sven Lindström. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Midsummer. So first I'm going to show you a picture you're probably familiar with, but today the world releases over 30 gigatons of carbon dioxide per year in the world. We saw a small dip due to the pandemic, but after that, when production started, it came back up to the same levels again. And it will continue to increase as we invest more and more to build these new green factories and invest in new renewable energy production. So that's why whatever we do has to be really energy efficient. And you're probably very familiar with the Swedish and also the European electricity prices. So being energy efficient also means being profitable. So that's very important. This is the blue bars here is the Swedish Energy Agency and what they expect, how much they expect the electricity demand to be. So the electricity demand in Sweden will rise due to that we're switching the transportation sector to electricity, etc., etc. And the blue bars is the base scenario. The gold or yellow bars is in case we continue on this path of switching to the transport sector to even more electricity, and I think that's a given the way it looks like today. And the way we're going to supply this demand, according to the Swedish Energy Agency, is this. So in the bottom you see the Swedish hydropower, and the brown is nuclear, which basically stays the same or actually decrease a little bit. And the light blue bars is wind. But I don't think that wind will be able to grow that fast. You know that there is a lot of protests. People don't want windmills close to their houses and in view of their house. So I think the real answer to how to meet this demand from the electricity sector is solar cells, to produce electricity where it is consumed. So you produce electricity on each and single roof, and especially these large flat roofs on top of factories. That will be a given in the years to come. So for this we have a very good solution, but I'd like to show you how energy efficient our solar cells are. So on the bar to the left, you see how much carbon dioxide is released for every kilowatt hour of electricity produced with coal. So if you produced 1 kilowatt hour of electricity with coal, you release between 800 and 900 grams of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And then you have oil and natural gas. And then you have some renewable energy sources, which I enlarge here. And to the left, you see traditional silicon solar cells made in China. They release about, on a life cycle analysis perspective, they release about 50 to 60 grams carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour produced. The lowest two blue bars is wind and hydropower in Sweden. So if you produced 1 kilowatt hour with wind power or hydropower in Sweden, you release about 10 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour produced. The yellow ones are solar cells from Midsummer. So if we install them in Stockholm, over a life cycle, you release 6 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour produced. If we install them in Sydney or Los Angeles, we release about 3 to 4 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour produced. So this is the most sustainable electricity source known to man. And why is that? So here is a traditional silicon solar cell. When you manufacture silicon, you actually take silicon dioxide, which is quartz sand, and you let it react with coal. The byproduct is carbon dioxide, and you end up with pure silicon. So even before it turned into a solar cell, you have released quite a lot of carbon dioxide. And this is very fragile, so it breaks like that. So that means you need to protect it with a quite thick glass and an aluminum frame. Both of these products release a lot of carbon dioxide when being manufactured. At Midsummer, we produced thin film solar cells. So the light absorbing layer in our solar cells is only 2 micrometer thick. So we use extremely little material. We deposit this on a stainless steel substrate, so it cannot break. We don't need a glass, we don't need aluminum frame. So that's why we have an extremely low carbon dioxide footprint. And this is a technology that we have developed over the last 17 years. And we're the only one that can mass manufacture these type of cells in the world. Down to the right, you see the production equipment for these solar cells. This production equipment we make ourselves as well. So we make it just outside of Stockholm in Järfälla. And we also make the raw material that we put into this machine. So we have the complete value chain from the raw material to the production equipment, to the production of solar cells, to the production of solar modules, and to the installation of the finished product onto roofs. So I'll show you a little bit what it looks like. So because our cells are lightweight and flexible, we can adapt them to any kind of roof structure. In this case, you have the most common roof tile in Sweden, where we have bended our solar panels so it fit exactly. You can hardly see that this is a solar roof. We also have another product which we call Midsummer Slim. And here we have a standard tin roof. And we actually make this tin roof also in our factory in Järfälla. We buy the coated steel from SSAB, and then we integrate the solar panels already in our factory. So when you install these kind of solar cells, or when you install the roof, you already have an installation in place. But I think the really large market is what we call Midsummer Bold. In this case, we have a panel that is exactly the same size as regular silicon panels, 1 by 1.6 meters. And we lay them flat onto these kind of factory roofs. This particular building is an installation in Flen. The building is made in the 70s, so it cannot really handle the load of snow in the winter and traditional silicon solar cells. So the owner of the factory, he really wanted to be able to go up on the roof in the winter time to shuffle off the snow. And on Midsummer solar panels, you can walk on them, and you have no constraint. You don't need to penetrate the waterproofing layer when we adhere it to the waterproofing layer. So, and you don't hinder access to the roof at all. So these are our products, and we have a very high demand for these products, especially in the wake of the ever-increasing electricity prices. As I told you, we have a factory in Järfälla. You see the picture to the left. And then we recently got a lot of support from the Italian government to start a factory in Bari in southern Italy. So for this factory, we got a 23 million euro grant from the Recovery and Resilience Fund in Italy. And we also got a 15 million euro soft loan from the same facility. The most expensive items that goes into this factory is our production equipment that we make in our factory here in Sweden. So we will be able to make this, to build up this production capacity in Italy in a cash flow positive way. And the factory in Bari will have a 50 megawatt nameplate capacity when it's finished by the end of this year. But this is only the beginning. So what we really want to do is to expand factories further in Sweden. If we look at the 100 megawatt factory, we would need 10,000 square meters for this. We can install our equipment in any existing industrial building. A 100 megawatt factory would employ about 1,000 workers in the factory and 1,000 installers for installing the roofs. As I said, it would have a production capacity of 100 megawatt. And the energy consumption of such a factory, it's only 0.05 terawatt hours per year. And that should be compared to, for example, the factories or the total consumption in Sweden, which is 150 terawatt hours per year. So it's a very energy efficient process. This factory, the output of this factory would in 10 years generate 0.8 terawatt hour per year. 10 of these factories would generate 8 terawatt hours per year. That is half of the increase that the Swedish Energy Agency foresee in the coming 10 years. So this is really what we want to do, and to build these kind of large-scale factories all over Sweden. And since we can use existing buildings, we don't need to start with a green field. We can move into any kind of factories where, for example, Electrolux, Whirlpool, or some other companies have moved away their production. And we can utilize that facility, and we can get going in a very, very short time. By producing the electricity locally on top of factory roofs, you're actually relieving the grid. Because if whatever production you have, either if it's from a nuclear power plant or from a wind power plant, you need to rebuild the grid, and you need to strengthen the grid to handle all of that electricity input in one spot. But by using solar power on each and single factory, you can actually produce the electricity exactly where it is consumed. The benefit of that is that you don't need to strengthen the grid in order to handle this. What the grid operator will see is only that your factory energy consumption is lowered. So I think this is really the way to the future. It's not the only solution. We need to increase also wind and other renewable energy sources. But this is one part of the solution that will create a lot of local jobs. If we look at 8 terawatt hours and how much carbon dioxide that would emit if we use, for example, the electricity mix from EU, you would release 2 million tons of carbon dioxide. If you use the electricity mix from Denmark, it will be a little bit lower. From Germany, it would be a little bit higher. If you use the electricity mix in Poland, you would release 5 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. If you use traditional Chinese silicon solar cells, it's a little bit lower. Wind as well. And Midsummer you can hardly ever see on this scale, because the carbon dioxide footprint from the production is extremely low. And this is, I think, the whole world is realizing now that we can't be reliant on oil and energy sources from one-party states in the East. And the European Union has a new initiative which they call Repower EU, where they want to break free from the dependence on Russian oil and gas. And this is exactly what we see as well all over Europe. And in Italy as well, they import around 40% of their natural gas from Russia. And that's 29 billion cubic meters per year. So We think that we can be a part of the solution to break free from the dependence of carbon dioxide what do you call it? Oil and gas dependence, and also be a new energy driver for creating energy and a lot of jobs and local demand in Europe. So that's pretty much what I had to say, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Sven Lindström. A question here, in terms of patent, what does your patent protection look like? This is a very unique product you have.
It is, and actually we have taken a strategy not to use that many patents. We do have patents approved in Sweden, in US and in China. But to reverse engineer our solar cell, it would be very difficult. The secret is how you manufacture this. And when you see a finished solar cell, you don't really know how it's manufactured. If we were to take patents, we would have to tell everyone exactly how we manufacture these solar cells. And there is more into that, because we manufacture the raw material to the solar cell ourselves. We manufacture the production equipment ourselves. And all the production data in terms of the temperature, the pressure, what kind of gases and material to use, only Midsummer knows. And we are the only one who knows what kind of purity the material needs to have, etc., etc. So that is only known to us. So I would say it would be extremely difficult for someone to copy our IP and technology.
Thank you. When you meet a customer and install the panels on their roofs, or a company or industry, how do you work with battery capacity in terms of storage?
Yeah, so we don't manufacture any batteries ourselves, but we do work, and lately there has been quite a lot of demand into battery for storage and backup, and we offer different solutions that's available on the market. So I think that's a very good way, and I use it myself at home.
So it's basically one-stop shop. If you contact Midsummer, you also get help with the battery installation.
Yes, of course. Yes, so we integrate everything, and in many cases, when we install the slim roof, for example, we also do the roof renovation, so to say.
Well, excellent. Best of luck, and thank you very much, Sven Lindström.
Thank you.
Thank you.